a little interesting that they went this content swap. But, I am, wokey thing. Live your life. Yeah, I think the one time he messaged me was saying how Semitic I looked. He actually contacted the event that I had interviewed him at, and had the event reach out to me in an attempt to try to get the fact that I called him a Nepo baby taken out of the article. That has never happened before or since.
Bringing on my special guest. Okay. My special guest is here. Hello.
I was the special guest.
Yes, please introduce yourself for those of you that don't know.
Hi, my name is Steven Asarch. I am a digital culture journalist who has written for Newsweek, Business Insider, Rolling Stone, covered the internet space in every single way possible. As I mention every time on here, I am a soy boy lefty cuck who, might be a little different in terms of the vibes, but I show up.
Very true. I mean, I think we've probably got some disagreement. Well, we've talked about disagreements and stuff before. Chat always seems to get very upset with you. I've sweat for you plenty of times now. So I'm going to say, well, I mean, today, hopefully we got something we can just plainly agree on. I guess we'll see. So, Pirate Software, what have you got for me?
What have I got for you? I think this stuff has been really interesting.
Okay.
I profiled Pirate Software over the summer. And in the story, I called him a Nepo baby. I stand by the fact that he is. He got his first job at Blizzard because of his dad. Qualifies as a Nepo baby, in my opinion. And he didn't like that, so he read it on stream, said my story was full of factual inaccuracies, and sent his fan base after me and made my social media hell for a week.
Well, that's interesting. Normally, I'd say, who cares about a bunch of people coming after you? However, he's made a very big point recently about how bad it is when people come after him for being criticized. So tell me more about that. What were his fans like?
Yeah, I think when it comes to being on the internet in general, you're going to deal with fans coming after you. Like, I have covered all different parts of the social media spectrum, from MrBeast to the Ace family to, PewDiePie. The fans get very passionate about what they do. Mm-hmm. But the way Thor, Pirate Software, went about it just, kind of irked me the wrong way. Like, he claimed the article was full of factual inaccuracies. He actually contacted the event that I had interviewed him at, and had the event reach out to me in an attempt to try to get the fact that I called him a Nepo baby taken out of the article. That has never happened before or since. So his, recent behavior has just been kind of odd to see, but also not entirely unexpected, considering I don't think he loves criticism too much.
Okay. So this profile that you did, you spoke to him. Did you speak to him directly?
Yeah, so I did a convention over the summer. He was on a panel that I moderated. And afterwards, I wanted to interview him.
Right.
He is, he's an interesting person. He takes care of ferrets. He was blowing up with Ludwig. I was like, this will be an interesting interview. And the interview itself was fine. There were no issues. We just talked about video games.
Listen, Steven, the real story is what he's doing with those ferrets. Let's be real here, okay?
He is trying to help cure ferrets of cancer. Of all the shit you can give him, you can't give him... You can't knock him for what he's trying to do with the ferrets. I'll give him that much. Okay. But the story went up maybe a month afterwards, and he read it on stream and just said it was full of factual inaccuracies and it was a hit piece, and the story itself is a fairly glowing profile.
Could you
So,
link it to me, please, so I can just throw it up? Is that okay?
sure. If you put here, I'll just put it in. There's if I assume if I search Mashable pirate software,
Okay.
it will come up.
Sure. I mean, because the thing
Um,
is, like, listen, okay, are you soy? Yes. Are you annoying sometimes? Sure. But you do seem to be, like, I'm assuming you got receipts for all of this, right? I can take you at your word. You got receipts to demonstrate the claim that you tried to contact the venue and stuff, right?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'll keep most of that correspondence private.
No, no, it's fine. I'm not
Um,
asking to be sent it, right?
yeah.
But if it came up and it was a thing, you could potentially, provide that if you
Oh
want to.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I have no idea. Yeah, no doubt about that.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just odd. And with like his latest, failing at a World of Warcraft raid is not a big deal.
Yep.
Uh, I think most of us can agree we've all died in video games.
Yeah.
That's just how gaming works.
Or let our team down,
But
right?
yeah, it happens. I play League of Legends.
Okay.
Uh, I constantly let down a bunch of 14-year-olds in the Southwest somewhere. That's just what my ranked games are.
Okay. But I
But
mean,
with this, yeah,
yeah. I mean, League of Legends is a lot more toxic as well, isn't it?
League of Legends is the most toxic.
Yeah.
I basically got my start in journalism by writing League of Legends stories.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and then kind of, grew from there.
So,
But
so this is
yeah,
how streamer Pirate Software gained nearly 2 million subs in 6 months. So,
yeah.
lightning struck twice for the game dev streamer. I'm just skimming through here. This seems pretty reasonable, I think.
And yeah, no, I was a fan of the guy and was very aware. It's just the Nepo baby line. I think that kind of irked him.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I guess. I want to be fair to all sides. I don't really see the problem. Like it's just a fact that he was hired there because of his dad, right?
that's how I felt about it. Like it just felt like a fact in the story. Like I am describing the biography of this man. Um, he got his first job at Blizzard because of his dad, which is fine. I never made it as some form of like accusatory thing or offensive thing. Like I just
Yeah. I mean,
like it's a fact.
yeah, Nepo baby
That's
is a
no
term referring
feeling.
to someone whose career is similar or related to the career their parents succeeded in. I mean, that seems like a completely reasonable usage of the term.
Yeah, I still agree on that. Again, like there was no correction made on that point.
He is a Nepo baby.
But
I mean, I guess if you wanted to be really picky, you could word it nicer. But like he is, that's what he is.
that's basically the issue at hand is that I could have used nicer language around it. But I didn't consider it an insult at the time.
Right, yeah.
Um, but I've learned my lesson.
If you were to do it again, would you? I mean, not with him directly, obviously, but just generally, would you maybe be more cautious, maybe about the language you use to avoid upset?
I
Just
think I probably wouldn't use Nepo baby on someone.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, okay.
because it upsets Nepo babies. Um,
If they're a nepo baby, you wouldn't, because you don't want to bother with the fucking dumb upset over it. Especially if it's a positive article. I mean, you're not looking to shit on the guy, right? From what I can tell here.
no, I think he has a very interesting story. He's done a bunch of different careers.
Hmm.
His stream, the way he runs his stream is very like business-like. His growth was massive over YouTube Shorts. It's just like imagine getting a bunch of that growth in a very short period of time. But with that growth, comes criticism from the audiences, and I think that's kind of
Right.
what we're seeing now. With OnlyFans, I don't like. I specifically kept myself away from the World of Warcraft Classic streaming situation that has taken over live stream fails because I tried WoW Classic. I got to like level 35, realized what am I doing with my life? Spending all of these hours grinding. So I just like distanced myself. But when I saw this leg of the race, I started to get a bit more invested and kind of do the research into, how did Pirate Software fail two raids? It's two raids, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, two
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
back, I think. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because I've never played it and I didn't know anything about it, but I've spent the last few days educating myself so as to adequately shit on this guy. So I'm not a fan personally.
It helps that it is technically a very simple game in terms of mechanics. It's just like pressing buttons.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like deep lore and timing and spacing and planning that goes into it. But that you don't really need to know too much to play.
Yeah. Okay. So you've seen, I guess, then firsthand that he does have this kind of sensitivity, where even in an overall positive article, there's a term that can upset him, and it will lead him to take kind of a crazy step, really, contacting this con you went to or whatever it was to try and get it changed. I mean, that's bizarre.
Yeah, I have never had that happen ever. I've interviewed hundreds of influencers, many at conventions, and the idea of going to the convention to try and get it changed doesn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know how it crossed him. Like, it's he tweeted at me, talked about it on stream. It just like sometimes hate campaigns can be a lot, and sometimes they can be understandable. You have a bad take, a bunch of people on the internet come after you. Sure, that's how the internet works. But when it comes to something that doesn't feel like a bad take and just feels like a point of fact that fans get pissed about, it can just feel like a lot. I think there should be like a middle ground between that. But who the hell knows?
I think it's like, if he's going to complain about getting criticized heavily now, and I've gone at great lengths to say death threats are bad, obviously, but he's going to great lengths to criticize people that are criticizing him. And it's like, well, this is actually a great point. This is what I said earlier. He's been on the other side of this before, when he's been on the one in the one-up position, so to speak, as someone else has to eat shit over something. And it seems like that's what happened here. Like, his fan base presumably were just, what were they doing? Responding to you on Twitter, or what was the deal?
I mean, it's just a bunch of tweets, a bunch of messages, emails.
Oh, you got messages
the usual
as well.
Stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Oh
okay.
Yeah.
Damn. What was the worst one you got?
I don't remember. Again, like these dramas kind of all blend together. Is it a MrBeast stan or is it a Pirate Software stan? At this point, it would be kind of hard to tell.
Off depressed
But
players,
yeah, that has always been like a really interesting part, is that he keeps claiming that there are like these mass harassment campaigns that are coming after him, and there are thousands of people he needs to ban because they're all coordinating in an attack to go after him. When in reality, to me at least, it just seems like a bunch of people who are kind of tired of the hypocrisy. And I think hypocrisy is kind of the center point of all of this, when it comes to him and what's going on with the WoW stuff.
What do you mean by that, the hypocrisy of it exactly?
Like the fact that he is going after, like, what was the streamer he was kind of like shitting on, something with an L, during the raid, or during another time while they were playing, and then complaining about how people are, going after him.
Lakari. Yeah, he was like shitting on Lakari playing mage badly. Yeah, and yeah, of course, okay. Yeah.
It just, to me seems like a hypocrisy that the fans are kind of going after at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Did you follow his drama over the stop killing game stuff?
I don't think so. I think I've just sort of checked out after the con interview.
No, sure. I mean, I don't, this is half remembered off a video I watched months ago, but basically there's a guy, someone in chat could probably say the name, who wanted to set up this kind of campaign, or this kind of like this group, and it stopped killing games. And I think it was after this car game, The Crew, was it? I think was coming to an end, and it was a live service game or something. So the servers were getting shut down. Means that you wouldn't be able to access the game anymore. And so this guy, Ross Scott, thank you, chat, basically put forward this proposal, or this concept of, what if we could find a way to, for companies to be obligated to, if they can't keep providing a service for a game themselves, hand it over to gamers so they can carry the torch forward and keep the game alive. Right, that was the basic concept of it. And there's certainly criticisms of that.
Wonderful.
There's potential issues of what you're asking for from developers and so on. There's reasonable discussion to be had. But the way that Pirate Software handled it, I think regardless of what you think about the campaign, was, from my understanding, he mischaracterized it in his coverage. And then when the guy was like reasonably saying, well, hey, let's have a conversation and try and figure it out, you can see the messages, which was very polite about it. He said he wouldn't talk to him because he said he was being disingenuous. And then it turns out he's apparently developing a live service game. So it's like, is there a conflict of interest there? Do you see what I mean? It seems like we'd be right up your street, you know? What would you think?
Absolutely. I love, like, live service games, I think should be given to the fans when they die. Like, one of my favorite games was a game called City of Heroes. It was an MMO in the early 2000s. I dedicated like my life and everything I could to it. And when it closed down, I was like genuinely upset. And like a few years ago, the fans made a private server, City of Heroes Homecoming. And NCSoft, the developer, eventually gave them the go-ahead to just keep the game alive. And I still go and get to play City of Heroes and hear those music and like get to relive a fun childhood nostalgia that genuinely means a lot to me. And because these live service games tend to disappear with a moment's notice, there was a mobile game that Nintendo had called Dragalia Lost that I put a lot of time into, and that's just gone. All my money, it's all gone. And I don't think that's fair to the players. I think it's a bit of a rug pull, and you should kind of create a space for, to acknowledge all of the work and time and the devs' work and time that went into it. So to kind of just be like, it's the companies, they're allowed to do what they want, is very capitalist, and can be made as a point. But like, when you are just trying to be like, hey, you are misquoting what I am trying to say, and then the response being, well, you're just being disingenuous. It just feels disingenuous. It feels like an attempt to try to end a conversation where a point could be extrapolated to an audience. Like, I feel like Pirate Software in general has targeted. I don't know how intentional it was, but like, the traditional online gamer, the one who gets mad about the wokes, that sort of vibe. And he says that he wants to keep politics out of his work, but he's courted that audience and kind of brought it into the fold. So maybe he didn't want to have that conversation because he didn't want to upset them. He didn't want to upset the capitalists. I don't really know. But to me, it does seem kind of odd to really like give all the love and joy to the death of live service games to make sure the IP is standing and okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think from just recording the drama, because I was a bit I thought the kind of person he presents himself as is this indie game dev, that he'd be all for, gamers taking power and control if a game's going to end. But he seemed to have all these very pro-corporate arguments. And listen, if someone wants to make a pro-corporate argument, that's fine. But it just seemed to be kind of antithetical to who I perceived him of, at least. And then the fact he didn't want to speak to the guy when the guy was saying he's being misrepresented, it just felt very obnoxious. Like, almost like he didn't want to lose a debate or something, Because what is it?
Software. Yeah, I think Pirate Software grew his initial audience off of coming off as an indie dev explaining how the games industry works from an insider perspective.
Yeah.
If you look at like the early YouTube shorts that he went viral for, it's how to break down the games industry, how they make money, how his indie game kind of, him live streaming himself working on his indie game. And as he's grown, that sort of indie personality has kind of taken a back seat to the other content he's been producing. And it all seems kind of odd to me and kind of like antithetical to the person he was originally going to be. And it's not like he's been viral for very long. Again, it's like 2 million subs in 6 months, and that story was what, like 6 months ago? So he's only really been like blowing up for a year. And if you look at like other content creators that have kind of had that explosive growth in that same amount of time, you can either take it well and kind of meld it to part of your personality, like I show speed, or you can kind of have it like you become the character, if you will. You know, you become like Dr. Disrespect, where you are the meme, and you really don't know what to do, and you kind of get washed over by everything. And I think Thor is kind of, stuck somewhere in the middle with, my thin parasocial relationship and one 20-minute interview.
Yeah. Going back to the World of Warcraft stuff. I mean, I've been very frustrated with people talking about this and not understanding it, right? But there's one specific thing that I feel people are missing from their analysis. Did you see the clips of him talking about reporting streamers and stuff?
Yeah, I sent a comment request to Blizzard about that because I was curious. I never got anything back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't break an exclusive.
That's okay.
But it seemed to me it was that clip and the one of him being like, I know people on the ban team. And like I can get you banned. I know a guy.
My dad works for Microsoft. That sort of thing.
Exactly. My uncle works at Nintendo. It has that sort of like same energy of like tattletale energy. Where I can understand when there are thousands of messages coming after you, it can be hard to determine what is just bullshit and what is actual valid criticism. And he kind of just lumps it all together. But then to go on the aggressive and be like, I'm going to report you all to daddy, it just makes things worse.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just, this story should have died a week and a half ago. There's no reason for either of us to give a shit about this. If he just hadn't, like, continued talking about it and continued tweeting about it, it would have just been a bad raid in a niche community of a very niche community. But because you keep feeding fuel to the fire, eventually leading to getting G-kicked, it just kind of grows and grows and grows when the story should have died a long time ago. And I think it's because of the fact that he is saying, I'm going to tattle on you, I'm going to report you. Content in like his hatred of the idea of commentary content.
Yeah.
I feel like in general he does not like the idea of commentary, and that it is kind of a leech off of his content.
But then he's friends with Asmongold. He does this all the time, and I reckon if the commentary was positive, he'd probably be loving it. It's the fact that it's negative this time. That's why he doesn't like it all of a sudden. That's my guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, Ludwig has, worked with him, and Ludwig is, I think it's fair to say, is a commentary guy.
Yeah.
With Mogul Mail, and he's fine with that. He's fine with Ludwig, but it wasn't until people were coming after him and using his clips that he felt he was being targeted, which is, a little ridiculous. When you are on the internet in a space this public, like, live stream fails is just going to farm you as a lolcow if you're going to act like one.
Yep.
In their eyes, Yeah,
definitely. And the other thing as well is like, as much as I obviously find some absurdist things funny, I do genuinely think that death threats are bad, but it's like you quietly report those, because I feel like often it's brought forward as a way of like, oh look, I'm getting death threats. It's like it presents more of a victim narrative, but also it promotes people to do it more. Whereas if you quietly report them, then likely they'll get banned, and eventually the tide will slow down and people will stop doing it because you're not going to be the attention anymore.
Yeah.
And then it's like wrapping everything in. It's like there's no way that thousands of people are sending you death threats. It's probably people just saying memes and fucking around and saying like low manner, out of manner, and stupid memes like that. I would have thought on the whole, right?
Yeah, I think we're in a really interesting part of the internet where I wrote a blog about it either last week or early this, I think it was last week, about how we're kind of in the age of the internet edgelord, where progressive ideologies have kind of swung backwards in the other direction.
Wait, what? What? Hey? I forgot what camera's on.
No. It's take the W. I think we're kind of, because of the way that Twitter is being moderated, and now the way Meta wants to be moderated, and now Google saying that they're not going to fact check. We're kind of in an age where edgelords are taking the front seat, and edgier behavior is becoming more normalized in social platforms. I think that's just a fact. And when it comes to having to deal with that criticism, it's hard to determine, again, what is edgy behavior and what is an actual death threat. You know, what is a meme and what is a threat against your life? If you're getting thousands of messages, it can be hard to determine what is a credible threat and what is some shit poster that's 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I can understand when you're getting thousands of messages to be able to distill it. But as you said, if you give that content attention, if you call more eyeballs to it, you're just going to encourage more of that behavior, leading to you getting more of the thing you're saying is bad. And if you use the death threats as a shield, because again, there are people who get relatively, who get a lot of shit online they don't deserve, and their families get contacted, and like awful things happen because of dumb internet drama.
Yeah.
But if you use that as a way to deflect from criticism, it just encourages it more. And it's clear he doesn't want that. But if you just keep feeding the fire and keep telling more and more and more, like it's not going to get better. I don't think it's going to get better for him if he keeps writing these tweets. Every day I wake up and there's another, read more on Twitter that I have to go check out because he just keeps responding to people. And I think at some point you kind of just have to ignore it and let it die because the internet will find another new shiny object to torture. That's
my job, finding the new torture subject. Yes,
exactly. As I said last time, you're bullying adjacent. Like that's the content. It's fine. That's just part of the ecosystem.
I mean, it's funny. It's funny you say that because I wasn't like super against this guy. I just watched the video about him. I thought he was just a loser, basically, and I thought he was overhyped. So I was rubbing my hands together when I saw this, and then as it's gone on, I thought I wanted to do like a bigger segment about it. But the thing is like most of the stuff today is after the initial incident. A lot of the clips are from after the initial incident, so we could have just ignored it, or even just said, I'm sorry, I got you killed, I was part of that, Yes, other people made mistakes, but that's my mistake to bear as well. And then everyone laughs about it, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, like, because if you look at the initial clip and you don't understand World of Warcraft, you don't know what the hell he did wrong.
Yeah.
You hear a guy going, run, 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 and then they run, and then it doesn't make sense. But because of the continued conversation that he has, the long thread of him defending himself, at least in his eyes, and again, tied with him working with Asmongold on a thing, it just kind of compartmentalizes and grows and grows and grows. The story itself, as I said, should have died a long time ago. There are much more interesting dramas happening right now, Elon is using his power to, demonetize a popular creator on his platform. Like, to me, That's much more valuable of a story than Pirate Software complains a lot.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't know. Apparently, he's got his checkmark back. Most recent news, but I've not checked. Oh, we know he's got it back. He's back. It's back. It's back. It's back now. He's got the tick again. Asmongold has got his tick back.
He does have the tick back.
Yeah. So whatever happened has been resolved.
Yeah, but it just, again, it feels so odd when when Elon breaks his own platform's rules. Like, I think there are very few rules when it comes to edgy internet stuff, but I think one of them is leaking private DMs is a no-no. Most of the time.
Well, without good reason. I think,
sure.
Like if someone there's probably some circumstances where it's okay, right? Like if there's some big allegation and it's the only way to prove your point, something like that maybe. But in this case, it seems to be to try and prove that Asmongold is managed by someone, and all it's proving is that he's got editors on his YouTube channel, which every YouTuber pretty much does of a certain size.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like Asmongold uses clippers and works with them, like news at 11. But Elon, who doesn't understand the internet and doesn't understand why people are memeing on him that he cheated at Path of Exile 2. Sorry, I just said that on your stream. Elon's now going to take it down.
I actually covered it earlier. I was educated on it all. I didn't understand it, but after watching it, I mean, it seems pretty obvious that he's got a boosted account. I don't see any other explanation for what I saw. I'm
a D4 addict. I've put hundreds of hours into D4, and I'm trying to get into Path of Exile right now. And it is a hard game. Right. It is really, really hard. I've died dozens of times just in the first few levels. just trying to understand everything. And the fact that he was able to get to level 97 hardcore without dying, without understanding the basic mechanics of the game, makes no sense. Like, it's clear he's just hoping that people don't understand. But if you understand it, like, it is obvious that Elon is boosted in some way. Which, again, would be fine if you just said he was boosted.
Yeah.
Just admit it. Then it's not a drama. It's the lying. It's the hypocrisy that allows the hive mind to really get a hold of an idea and kind of stick with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the Asmongold thing was pretty. I mean, it was pretty. Honestly, I was shocked. I was blown away by the idea that Elon Musk has leaked Asmongold's DMs. I mean, that's such a crazy concept that he would do something like that, right? I mean, what the fuck? This is like unprecedented, isn't it? I feel like.
Yeah. The dirtiest thing that's happened to Asmongold since his room. It's just
well, like you're probably not a fan of Asmongold, but I mean, I'm not like a massive fan of him. I don't think he was sweeping for Pirate Software in the recent drama, but like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty like shitty for him that fucking Elon Musk got the ear of the president. Even is leaking his DMs on Twitter.com over some stupid video game beef.
Yeah, like, no matter how I feel about Asmongold, it is beyond fucked up that a man who is literally the richest human being in the world is using his power to silence that criticism.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, even if I disagree with a human being, I believe in the concept of free speech and don't want your stuff to be completely, to be, because of what you said someone didn't like, they took you down. Like, that is antithetical to the idea of journalism. If you're spreading misinformation, if you're spreading hateful conduct, by a platform's terms of service, sure, I can understand it. But just because he said he thinks you're boosted is an absolutely ridiculous reason to try to take someone down. And it just shows like the soft underbelly that is Elon Musk. He just does not, again, like Pirate doesn't like criticism.
Well, people are saying that Aswin was how is Aswin silenced? So I wouldn't say he was silenced. However, the tick thing, I've not looked into that fully, and I don't know what the story is there. But it is very like it's very It's like a threatening behavior, leaking DMs. Like we're not talking about some random shitter that you know. This is the guy that runs the platform leaking DMs. It is very what's the word? It's like very, very threatening.
1984.
Right, well, I don't know if it's 1984. That's a bit much, but it's just like I leaked your DMs. Like, what else could this guy do? Like, that's deranged behavior, Like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah,
it's pretty worrying, I think.
This man has, like, access to our electric vehicle infrastructure with the superchargers. He has access to a massive collection of satellites that deal with our internet all across the world. And he's spending his time being petty with Dirty Streamer.
Yeah.
Like, and when it comes to, like, on Twitter, the way I understand it, I don't know how Twitter works anymore. It's just broken mess at this point. But losing the verification tab means you lose monetization, which isn't much to begin with, and you also lose the account boost that comes with getting the blue check mark. So it just feels like a way to silence dissent, which I am not pro of, even if I dislike the voice,
Yeah, I mean, what it comes across like to me is the perception from mine is almost like he knows he can't control what he says on Twitch, so he's taken some effort to kind of vindictively do something where he can, which is Twitter. I need to double check the checkmark thing because I'm not sure exactly what happened there. I don't see any other reason other than it was taken away specifically because of what was happening with Elon. But certainly the DM leak thing, it's a very, he's kind of like saying, oh, got your DMs here. Oh, leak your DMs, massive guy leaking the DMs, trying to embarrass him, trying to make him look stupid.
That's it. It's an attempt to try to make Asmongold look stupid.
Yeah.
And to try to embarrass him in front of an audience. Like, look, he's beholden to his editors. I'm Elon. I'm beholden to nobody.
Yeah.
Especially my 12 kids.
By the way, do you know what Aiden Projects is?
Yes.
He's in chat and he just I don't think he's got any issue particularly, but he mentioned you.
Yeah, I think the one time he messaged me was saying how Semitic I looked.
He's one to talk. He's one to talk, isn't he? Hey, have you seen some of the edits that take the filter off? In one, he looks like Jeffrey Epstein.
The only time I noticed that he made content was the Jake Weddle Lex stuff. I watched those streams, but other than that, I
Oh,
don't know what else he does.
okay. Listen, I know you're on your MrBeast hate arc. Okay, we don't need to get into that necessarily because I'm a bit MrBeasted out. I would love to hear your take on the Lex, the Jake Weddle X drama. Did you follow that?
Yeah, I mean, I think from what we know, Lex was a super fan who messaged Weddle on Instagram, and they started dating off of that. Lex then took control of all of his social media and started feuding with you guys.
Yeah.
She messaged me a bunch, wanted me to interview her.
What? What the fuck? No
Yeah,
way. That's crazy.
yeah. She messaged me a few times in an attempt to be like, it was like, do you want to interview the partners of MrBeast employees? Because we've also been through a lot. And no, I didn't really want to do that.
Damn.
Didn't really make sense. But yeah, from there, I just kind of saw the live streams the same as everyone else, and it just kind of like it just at the end just kind of felt like a bad breakup trying to being used maliciously in an attempt to like gain internet clout.
Yeah.
That's how I think it kind of like all ended up.
Yeah. I mean,
You
that
know?
sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, from all of our perspective, I feel like it was just to speak for everyone, of course. It was just kind of bizarre. It was like, what the fuck? Like, how is this even happening? And then there's that moment where it looks like she's got control of his Discord. Um,
Yeah.
it actually made me feel bad for Jake Weddle, I think, for the first time in history, which was quite something, to be honest with you.
I think that was the most interesting part of the whole arc is watching kind of the opinion of Jake Weddle kind of turn from like animosity to pity.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like I don't think it's a hatred anymore when you understand that Lex was kind of the one in charge. And again, I'm still on team Jake Weddle had some shit happen to him at MrBeast, but also like the whole Lex arc was ridiculous and didn't need to happen in public.
I mean,
Um,
to be
and it
really
made great
honest with
content.
you, people have been posting about like Jake Weddle's YouTube videos and how the numbers are down. I've kind of lost my appetite for mocking him, to be honest with you. I'm a bit over it now. I'm like, I don't know. I feel kind of bad for him that he had this psycho bitch on his case. So I'm just a bit like, well, whatever. It's kind of, I've moved on from it. Really, I feel like.
You are a carnivore in this ecosystem, and Jake Weddle's corpse no longer is something that you want to devour.
There's no meat
You're moving
left.
on to fresher meat.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, you don't need a shank bone. You got Pirate Software's left thigh that you can have a nice little munch on.
Okay,
Like
Aiden.
I understand.
For some reason, Aiden has got this picture of you saved. I don't know where he's got it from. But, I think this is evidence that you look very Semitic. I won't comment because I'm not Jewish. Okay, this is Aiden's comment, not mine. But,
Sure, yeah, I don't know why he still has that saved after all this time. I
that's
guess
a
it's
bit
just
weird,
on his
isn't
hard
it?
drive. Yeah, right. He's thinking of me.
Definitely. He thinks about
Again,
you often, I'm
I
sure.
understand the internet edgelord like mindset. It's just that's part of the game. You play in these spaces.
um, but yeah, no, sure. Okay, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if your obsession for MrBeast is still continuing. I mean, what's next on the plate for you? What's next? Where are you moving to next in terms of the internet stuff?
I think I'm kind of just seeing whatever pops up.
Okay.
There, I'm not. Yeah, when it comes to a lot of my coverage, it's sort of just like what's breaking in the moment. Like I spent a lot of time on Red Note,
Oh,
in the past few days.
is that like the super pro
Uh,
China alternative to TikTok?
yeah, that's the new Chinese TikTok that is taking over the App Store.
And is it true that
It's
you've got to
it's
have
very
like
odd place.
I saw a thing, I don't know if this is a meme or not, but apparently you've got to have the right pro China takes to be on there. Is that true?
It is very heavily censored. Like absolutely. No, there's no doubt. Like I did a blog where I was just like spending 24 hours on Red Note. And it was like TikTok refugees as they call themselves, saying how welcoming it is on Red Note. And then the Chinese people on Red Note being like, welcome to Red Note. And it all just felt very like glistening and clean. And then like, some talks about how the American idea of China is a lot different than how Chinese people view themselves and vice versa, which makes sense. It's definitely a way to like embrace a cultural divide, but it also just feels so clean and manufactured. Like my favorite part of the internet is how fucked up everything is.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of a clusterfuck of weird ideas, strange furries, and like nonsense, people fighting about books or arguing on TikTok about what this random woman is doing with her baby. Like, the drama of it all is what is appealing. And on Red Note, because of its strict censorship platform, it doesn't really have that. Like, if TikTok does end up going away, that's what I'm gonna miss about TikTok, is the fact that we can all agree that Vexbolt sucks and kind of like mass unfollow him, even though his platform is bigger than his unfollowing. It's just a different place, and I don't think I'm going to be spending a lot of time on Red Note, unless it changes a little bit. But I don't think it can because of the structure in which it exists.
Okay, that's
That was my
interesting.
TED talk.
No,
Yeah.
no, fine. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit worried for you in the coming days. Inauguration day, you're going to be one of the libtards on the White House screen. No, is that going to be you?
I don't think I'll be going anywhere near that. See, you're on the other side of the pond. You don't have to worry about it.
No, listen, look,
You get
okay,
to just watch the chaos.
okay, listen, this is where we'll probably agree on a lot of things because I am so done with the fucking righties doing apologia for Trump. I'm not a Trump guy, okay? I get that there's some annoying stuff that's said about him or whatever. I think it's excessive. I don't think you're going to have the end of America. But, like, I mean, dude, it's like, who's this? What is it? RFK Jr.? He's like a nutter, isn't he? And he's going to be in charge of some government department or something.
Yeah, the worm did eat part of his brain.
Yeah, he had
Um,
literal brainworms. He had literal brainworms,
yeah,
from what I understand. Um,
I think what I watched an interesting. Do you know what Channel 5 is? Andrew
yes. Yeah,
Callahan.
yeah, yeah.
So he has a new documentary out called Dear Kelly. I think that's what it's called. And it's basically him following this guy as he, someone who has went deep, deep down the, Trump rabbit hole, like goes to every rally, goes to Charlie Kirk events and just like completely feels the Kool-Aid. And how he kind of started on that path is that he lost his house. And he felt that like him losing his house is similar to Trump losing the 2020 election. So he kind of used it as something he could graft on. And the documentary is Andrew trying to kind of bring him out of that pipeline and introduce him back to his family and like show him that his kids care. And I don't want to spoil it or anything, but it's very hard to kind of pull people back out once they're already in. And I think
Mm.
American politics tend to be very divisive, and you kind of have to pick a side, if you will. And I think that just kind of makes things more problematic in the long term, because we all want what's best for us, not really what's best for the billionaires at the top. I know, soy boy lefty cook take,
That's
but
fine. No, no, no. Listen, look, I've heard the word like oligarch get thrown around in regards to Elon Musk and stuff, and then I hear that apparently he's going to have some office space in the White House complex, and it's just like that's pretty wild. That's pretty crazy to hear, and it feels like I mean, it's just a classic. Imagine if this was fucking Jack Dorsey in like the height
yeah,
of the Biden presidency, this sort of thing happening. The same people that are cheering it on or turning the blind eye to it would be screaming bloody fucking murder about, control of social media and stuff like that. All these other big tech platform people are bending the knee to Trump. Mark Zuckerberg apparently is now as well. And these righties
yeah.
seem to love it. And it's like, just absurd. It's like, I thought you were against this shit. But I guess when it favors you, you're not. Very classic, rules for me, but not rules for thee, but not for me. Very frustrating.
Yeah, no, 110%, and that's the point I think a lot of people like don't really understand is that these tech oligarchs don't they want Trump in power because they allow the oligarchs to have the most power. Like Elon has the ear of the president and kid is starting his own government agency allegedly. And yeah, Zuck is just like completely, done a 180 from where he was just like 5 years ago, because that's the best way to maintain power. They want to maintain power. And the best way to do that is to cozy up with the people who have similar ideologies that you can sort of cozy up with. Again, it's where I'm going back to, like, we're kind of in the age of the edgelord, where this idea that people who feel that progressive ideologies have kind of gone too far are being co-opted by the billionaire class to try and push them to the top off of this idea that progressive ideologies are what has caused your life to diminish and gasoline prices to increase. When in reality, it's because of those tech oligarchs siphoning as much resources and, money out of the system as possible. I don't know if we want to go too down that.
No, it's fine. It's
hole.
fine. It's fine. You're going into your. I mean, I don't fully disagree with the stuff you're pointing out. There, I would just say that and the trouble for me, I just had a voice crack. I've just lost. The trouble for me is that you did have something of this issue with progressives. It's documented that Jack Dorsey did have some communication with like the Democrats in terms of like the Biden laptop story, say, for example. But the problem for me is it just feels like the scale is a lot greater and a lot more obvious. And the same people that complained about the former are not bringing these criticisms to the table now when you've got the guy that runs Twitter running a government department or a government associated department, the Doge or whatever the fucking stupid meme name have come up with for it,
100%. When it's on your team, the hypocrisies can look a lot, less obvious. You might be willing to go alongside it, even if you necessarily disagree with it. It's just, you got to stick by the company line.
Yeah.
And that company line right now is Musk hating on Asmon for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people like, the quartering. Funnily enough, the voice of reason for once saying leaking DMs ain't it. I mean, that's like, yeah, at least there's some people that are willing to call this somewhat for being bad behavior, but it's totally deranged. It's bizarre that this is acceptable to some people.
What's been really interesting to watch, I'd say over the past month, maybe 2 months, is people who are on like diametrically opposed political aisles agreeing on a lot more than you'd think. Like the fact that Elon is kind of abusing his power, the fact that Elon decided to flip-flop on the idea of H-1B visas. Things that like should seem a little more diametrically opposed or more, we're agreeing more, which is something that is, hard to say for a lot of people. We want to agree with the other side because they're wrong, but we're all humans and we all kind of agree on a lot at the end of the day.
What a lovely mess! What a lovely thought. I love that. That's great.
I know.
I'm going away. Based. I'm going away for a bit in a few days, so I'm kind of in holiday mode, I guess. So I'm kind of a bit like, I'm chilling. I'm chilling, So we can let the soy slide for today. All right.
Well, you can always ask chat questions, and they can.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's do that. Well, let's do like 10, 15 minutes, just from, if you got time, just from chat.
Yeah.
Right, chat.
I'm good for the moment.
Shoot. What have you got?
Yeah.
Please try and avoid questions about Jewish stuff. Okay, we've had enough of that recently. Okay.
No Jewish questions.
Okay. Right. Already. Yeah. Okay. We've got one already, but we'll know that. Okay. So I'm being asked here. What are your thoughts on Maldavius Fig Tree?
That is Pirate Software's furry persona, right?
Correct. Yes.
I know nothing about it other than that fact. Did it have anything to do with Second Life? Because I know you got to start selling Second Life real estate.
Correct. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of information on a certain website that some say is a bit mean-spirited, shall we say. I've looked through it. I mean, I think there's obviously the case that some people will overstate, certain claims about the guy to maximize shitting on him. But I guess what I find most interesting about it is that, from what I understand, people that bring up Maldavius Fig Tree or talk about it in videos substantively, it's alleged that he uses harassment policy on YouTube to take the video down. I've not looked into it much, so I'd need to check before I say that with certainty. But it's just interesting, this idea that maybe he's got this concern somehow of people talking about it or bringing it up for some reason. Don't know what that might be, though.
I mean, he has a long history on the internet, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was, stuff he didn't necessarily want to be out there as much.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I also don't know much
No, fair enough.
about his
Okay.
persona.
Okay. um. Okay. Right. Keep it coming. Keep it coming, guys. What else have you got? Does he agree? Okay, dude. We're not getting into the trans stuff. Okay. We all know. We all know that Steven is soft to the trans issue, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think again there are points we disagree on, but I think it's important to kind of go on platforms like these and show the world that soy boy lefty journalists are people too.
Okay. Do you support the freeing of, and this is the chatter's words, not mine, political prisoner Nathan Weddle?
No, I don't know. I don't know his story. Can I say I don't know much? I know vaguely, so I'm gonna say
Well,
probably not.
Okay. I mean,
Probably not.
Nathan Weddle is a convicted pedophile, and the only reason that people call for his release is because it's funny, because it's Jake Weddle's father. I think it's very immature, and I'd never do something like that personally. But that's what we're dealing with my chat.
Then probably not. No,
Okay.
I'm gonna do a hard no on that one.
Okay. 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 This is actually a great question, actually, because I know you're going to know about this. What are your thoughts on the Bowblax stuff that's leaked recently?
Oh, so I haven't been keeping up as much.
Oh,
But
okay.
what a turn in the story. What I don't really understand why Bowblax became as much of an outsider in this community, or where the OnlyFans leak came from. But I can completely understand why it is a big deal in this community.
Yeah, so in terms of where it came from, he showed all, in Gmail, it shows all your logged in accounts you can access. And, obviously, you know what these detractors and A-logs are like? They saw one of the email addresses was called, like, man, she, he, and they plugged that into Google, and it gave the goods. So the goods being Bowblax's OnlyFans and Fansly account. So that's basically where it came from.
Did Bowblax ever explain why they made the account?
I mean, they've not really commented on it. They uploaded a clip of their stream where they did a voice pretending to be Chris Chan or something, which was before the stream happened, before the leak. But I feel like it was like, their kind of way of responding to this mockery they were getting. But that's my assertion. I mean, look, we're probably going to have different perspectives on this. I think that they're a transvestite fetishist. That would be my way of looking at it.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's your take. I can't say anything else on your take. I don't really know too much. I think it's a little interesting that they went this content swap. But, I am, wokey thing. Live your life. If you want to post weird dick pics on OnlyFans, go for it.
Yeah, sure. But like you say, you can understand, like, obviously, someone like Nicholas Diorio or Augie RFC,
yes,
right? Obviously, they're going to be like, what the fuck? And, rightly.
That's like the pride of the lion is like slow, like dying. Like he's taking his last breath. And just like the chompiest chomps directly to the jugular, creating the best content. I completely understand the value in that regard.
Okay, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else? What else have we got here? Okay, just weird question. Oh my god, I've actually gone over this extensively, so I'm interested if you've covered this. What do you think in regards to the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively stuff?
I think it's a lot of PR back and forth.
Okay.
Can I say they both suck? Is that fair?
I actually strongly disagree with that. And would you? I'm not even fucking memeing. I actually strongly side with Blake Lively on the whole thing, to be honest.
I think, yeah. I mean, Baldoni has said a lot of fucked up things. Those messages are wild. The fact that those came out in the New York Times are just mind-boggling to me, and I think his countersuit is just utter nonsense. But
yeah, this is your kind of arena, right? Defamation and the press. I mean, do you think that he's got Any chance of getting anywhere with this lawsuit that he's filed against the New York Times?
No, I don't think he has any chance because they quoted him. You know, they can claim that he can claim that he was quoted out of context, but looking over the messages, I don't think he was. I think it's kind of fair. What criticism he received and Blake's lawsuit. Again, we're gonna have to see what more comes out in Discovery.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. It'll be a public opinion, another Depp heard. But it all is just kind of chaos, and we don't know the full facts. But I just I also watched that movie and I hated it.
Okay.
It was not for me.
Did you want more kind of like woman beatings or something? Is that what you were looking for?
You caught me. That's the content I'm looking for. Bowblax in one of the roles.
Well, okay. So because the thing is, okay, because Aiden is he's calling you a fence sitter on this issue, which I think is a bit harsh personally. But when you say they both suck, what's your issues with Blake Lively then?
I mean, it's just I think leaking anything to the press in an attempt like right before the holidays is kind of weird.
Oh, I
guess
see.
that's my big.
Got it.
Yeah,
So
I guess that's basically my thing. It's like you didn't really
yeah.
give time to respond. It felt a little rushed.
Okay.
That's my biggest, issue, I guess, when it comes to this story. No, in terms of the abuse, I'm not on Baldoni's side. It's mainly just like the leaking to the press at a weird time, in an attempt to try to like usurp the news cycle.
Yeah.
Like it's more of a journalism.
Well, to be fair to that kind of argument, I do see that. It's like this is where I think the argument of like the PR game coming in. Like I can definitely see from her side, there's a PR game being played. Yeah. I think that's reasonable. But I do think that from what it looks like, Baldoni is clutching at straws, and I know obviously people like to think the mainstream press gets stuff wrong all the time and shit like that, which is retarded. But I think it's pretty obvious that this is a PR like suit, right? Like, how the fuck are you going to win a defamation suit against the New York Times? The layers of verification and legal checks that article would have to go to of that size and that expose. I mean, pretty substantial, right?
Yeah, that to me is like this isn't something you just like shit out on Dexerto. This is a real story that took the time and effort, and I don't think they would like the New York Times doesn't really lose those sorts of cases. They're the biggest dogs in the space, and I think that they'll be okay when it comes to it. When PR people want to play it loose and fast, they're gonna get screwed. I've dealt with PR people of all shapes and sizes, and some of them are better than others. If any of them are texting me that we have a slam dunk when it comes to the hate we're gonna create in the media, I wouldn't consider that a good PR person.
Okay. Yeah. Someone's asked about another hot topic issue, which I've not. I mean, I listened to the podcast and I was a bit skeptical, but could maybe see some issues with Neil Gaiman's behavior.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the Neil Gaiman stuff?
I mean, I think the story is horrific, and those women went through a lot. I'm unsurprised. I didn't listen to the podcast. I read the story that came out all those months ago, and the Vulture piece is very in depth, and I think covers a lot of the issues of like men being in power and kind of abusing that power over the women in their lives. It's going to be Gaiman has released one statement where he kind of like tiptoed around the issue and said like woe is me when it came to it. It's going to be interesting to see if he responds more in the future, because it is very much a he said she said situation. It's not like outside of like some text messages and some photos, there really isn't a lot in the story in corroboration outside of he said she said. But I tend to go on the side of the women, because there's no way in hell, again, it's like the Times, that they would publish something without dotting their I's and crossing their T's, because that is you're going up against the world's most popular science fiction writer. You kind of have to make sure, as someone who's written stories, obviously not on that scale, but in a similar vein, you really have to make sure that what you're doing is covered because, a suit would essentially, end everything you do. So you just have to be really careful.
Yeah, because I covered it a little while ago, and I think that my skepticism was rooted in the fact that some of these women had continued to interact, and there were these messages of them, and they even recognised this in the podcast, that this is complicated, we've got these women, and they seemingly consented, and so on. I've not read the most recent stuff to really see what I think about it. But the thing I find difficult with it is, like, I'm willing to be skeptical on the behalf of the guys, okay? I am willing to not believe women. I just find it very difficult, personally, to really go to battle for someone who has got tweets out of them going, oh, believe women, believe women, believe women, right? It's like, you're pushing that point so hard when it's other people, but then when it comes to you, all of a sudden the women aren't to be believed. And it's like, well, do you want to believe women or not? It seems like you want to believe women when it's convenient.
Yeah.
You know?
I truly believe that the men who are like overcompensating feminists, who are like, I stand by women, and it's like
you just did that. You just did that just then.
Oh no, you caught me,
Steven.
Take away my.
When the rape allegations come against you, I'll have no choice but to side against you. I'm afraid. I'm telling you now.
God.
Okay.
My fiance would be very upset.
Anyway, yeah, okay, cool. So obviously, started with the women. I need to look at it more to see for sure.
Yeah.
But okay, well, to be honest with you, apart from stupid questions about your Jewish stuff, like, that's it really. I think
that's fair.
But
thanks for having me, as always.
Pleasure as always. Thanks for coming on.
I think it's important for people that are normally not interacting with these communities to kind of interact, and kind of get away the veil of mysticism that is Twitter and whatever journalism is.
Based.
So I guess follow me on the awful Twitter platform, and have a good stream.
Thanks for coming. Catch you later.
All right, peace.
Bye. God, you guys have got Steven Asarch derangement syndrome. I like talking to him, even though we disagree and stuff. I mean, look, I've said about this MrBeast stuff being very annoying. I made a couple of jabs about it, but I didn't really get into it. I'm not like completely on board with all of his stuff, but I don't know. He sucks. Yeah, he's too soy. I'll bring a racist on next time to make up for it, okay? What was your question? Pull up the photos. Okay, I must ask, Aiden, why have you got so many fucking photos of this guy? Bro, why have you got so many photos of him? Bro, what? Why?